I've doubled my business every 3 years since inception over 14 years ago. That's 4.5 doubles. So take your revenue from this year and double it, then double it again. Do that 2 more times. How does that number sound? You can get there using the same process I've used. It's called reverse engineering. That's really just a fancy way of saying working backwards. Let's work backwards towards your sales goals. It's a simple 5-step process. We're going to start with your desired revenue. We're going to use an example of saying, hey, let's hit 5 million in sales. In order to hit 5 million, how many projects do we need? Well, we need to know our average project size. Go back and look at either your current average or the last 12 months rolling average. Even if your desire is to improve, let's use the current average to make sure that we hit this number. So we're going to use an average of 100,000. That means if we take 5 million and our average project size is $100,000, then we need 50 projects. Now we need to say, how many people do we need to get into a design agreement to land at 50 projects? Most design build companies convert about 95% of people in design. I like to use a little bit of padding and buffer when I'm doing this exercise. So we'll use about a 90% conversion rate, and that gives us 55 into design. How many in-person meetings do we need to actually sell 55 into design? Well, if you convert about a third of your in-person meetings, then we need 167. In order to get the in-person meetings, we need to get people on the phone and we need to pre-qualify them and make sure, yes, we actually do want to book an appointment and go out to see them. So we're going to say we convert at about 70%. And again, we want to be using historical data. So use the numbers that you can rely on based on past success. So 70% of our phone pre-qualification calls, we need 238 phone pre-qualification calls. How many raw leads do we need to actually book that number of calls? If you have a 50% booking rate, so half of your raw leads actually turn into phone calls. It's 400 and some change, but I added a little bit of padding and buffer here, rounding up to about 500 leads. We need 500 raw leads in the next 12 months, and that should get us to our sales target of 5 million. Now that we've worked our way backward, we know we need 500 leads to reach 5 million in sales. At this point, it's important to use as much context as possible to make our next calculations and decisions. How many leads did you get last year? What channels produced the most and the best? Let's use a real example so you can map your scenario to this one. Last year for this company, their lead flow looked a little like this. 50 leads from referral and word of mouth, 150 leads from digital marketing, and 50 leads from home shows. That's a total of 250 leads for the year. We need 500 or double that. It's likely we can't scale up aggressively our referrals and word of mouth. If you're consistently getting about 50 leads per year from that channel, we'll estimate the same thing moving forward. That leaves 450 leads left to hit our goal. Looking at last year, we had 150 from digital and 50 leads from home shows. If we can double our home shows, we might be able to get that to 100 total leads. Or we could triple our digital marketing and keep home shows the same. Keep in mind, it's always easier to do more of a channel that's already working than to try to figure out a brand new channel. It's not always the case, but there's a ramp up and a learning curve with something new. In this example, we're going to 2.5x our digital channels and double our home shows. That gets us to an estimated 525 leads. I want to pause here and highlight something. This exercise is a lot of guesswork if you don't track your data. If you're not tracking conversion rate from lead to pre-qualification call, or from each meeting to the next stage in your sales process, you will absolutely be guesstimating. If that's where you are, I recommend your number one priority be getting the tracking in place. Whether that's finally committing to a CRM or having someone on your team responsible for tracking and reporting the numbers weekly to you, you need to have this data. Or you'll find yourself stuck and spinning your wheels year after year. It took me way too long to start diligently tracking these numbers. And as soon as I did, our growth rate accelerated. Decisions will get much easier because you can lean on data over longer and longer timeframes, giving you confidence behind the numbers. Something this equation didn't factor in is the quality of leads and projects. After you back your way out, the extra step here that will almost certainly ensure you nail this is looking at the channels your best projects came from. If you can 5x those channels and maybe nominally increase the others, or just leave them alone, that may be your best move. In this industry, I see a lot of scenarios where referrals are the leading channel. If that's true for you, you'll find yourself needing to invest in some marketing channels to supplement your referrals. That's because it's nearly impossible to double your referral leads each year, but it's extremely possible to double Google ad spend or the amount of money or effort you put into SEO or content marketing. Once you've reverse engineered your needed lead flow, I like to break it down by month. We'll take our 525 leads divided by 12 months and see we need about 44 leads per month. If you're just starting to ramp up your marketing, it will take some time. It will waterfall in. Seasonality will play a role as well. So look at your own lead trends and adjust your expectations. After you've formed your lead and sales meeting targets, it's time to create a production capacity plan. How much volume can you handle with your existing team? When will you hire production roles internally versus scaling up with trades? You need to make an overhead move to support the growth, maybe more office space or office support staff. You don't need to make these moves now or even early, but in my experience, if you can just think 1 or 2 steps ahead, you can have job descriptions, new hire posts ready to go out. Additionally, you'll know when you hit, say, for example, X in sales, X being your capacity, maybe that's 3 million, it's time to post that position. If you can front load some of this planning and thinking for the year ahead, you can spend more time executing and adjusting throughout the year. Start with the end in mind, work backwards, look at past data to inform your decisions, identify current capacity caps, and look 1 or 2 steps ahead. That's 5 steps to reverse engineering your sales goals. All right, we'll see you next time here on Builder Funnel TV.